I owe you guys a huge apology. This video needed to come out on Monday. It's a little late, so huge apology for that. We have a huge update on the Tua situation, and it got significantly more sinister over the past weekend, where it looks like the NFL is straight up admitting that they had a colossal fuck up. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you want to support the channel, we also have a Patreon and a channel memberships program that you could join to support us, but it's not expected. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Things are going to be a little different on this channel moving forward, because from now on you are not to call me Microphone, rather you are to call me Lord Microphone. Because as a result of established titles and my contribution to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland, I am officially Lord Microphone. Established titles is based on a Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords or ladies if you're a woman. These title packs give you 1 square foot of dedicated land, which essentially makes you a lord. So yes, guys, you could officially get your name changed to Lord or Lady, get it on your credit cards, plane tickets, and even your dating profiles. So as you can see at the very bottom, each certificate comes with your own unique plot number. It makes for a great last minute gift, and they even have a couple of packs with adjoining plots of land. And with every purchase of a title pack, Established Titles plants a tree all around the world in an effort for global reforestation. And they work with global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. And the next 200 people that purchase a title pack using my link get the plot of land next to me. So go to establishedtitles.com/microphone to get your gifts now and help support the channel. And when you use my promo code Microphone, you'll get an additional 10% off of your purchase. And thank you, Established Titles, for the sponsorship. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So here's where we stand with the Tua situation. I wanted to make clear that the NFLPA is still undergoing an investigation in regards to how Tua was checked for concussion protocol. Regardless, multiple head coaches have come out and stated that they don't understand how they would allow this situation to happen in the first place. I mean, in our last video, we had Ryan Clark explaining how Mike Tomlin would not let this situation happen at all. You had John Harbaugh saying this.
Most people, I couldn't believe what I saw last night. I couldn't believe what I saw last Sunday. You know, it was just something that was astonishing to see. I've been coaching for 40 years now, in college and the NFL, almost 40. And I've never seen anything like it before. And it just was really something that, you know, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. So.
And now the most recent head coach to join the party is none other than Bill Belichick. Now, I wanted to make clear, Bill Belichick kind of has a history of sabotaging his division rivals. I mean, let's not forget how he, I guess, indirectly started the entire Brian Flores lawsuit. I don't think he's this devious of a human being to do this, but we all know when Bill Belichick texted Brian Flores saying, "Congrats on getting the job, Brian," when he meant to text Brian Dable, which eventually resulted in Brian Flores getting so upset at the fact that the New York Giants made their decision on a head coach before interviewing him that he decided to file a lawsuit against the NFL that primarily featured his stint with the Miami Dolphins and resulted in the Miami Dolphins losing their first round selection in the 2023 NFL draft and a third round selection in the 2024 NFL draft. I don't know. I think since it's Bill Belichick, then obviously people are going to say, oh my God, he's a devious mastermind. He clearly did it on purpose, but I just thought it was a comical, ironic thing to include in this video. So bear in mind, Bill Belichick kind of throws the Miami Dolphins, his division rival, under the bus in this situation when he mentions that he's removed players with concussion symptoms even if doctors cleared them. So he says, "I've definitely done that before. Oh yeah, if I see a player that I think is not functioning properly, that for some reason has not been identified, then absolutely I would take them out. out, and I have done that. I would say not recently, but those are things that have happened at other points in my career. If a player doesn't look like he's functioning properly, we evaluate him with the medical people, but even if the medical people were to clear a player, we still go through a coaching clearance to make sure he's ready to play football and not just medically cleared. We've always had a secondary evaluation on that. So this is obviously in reference to the way the Miami Dolphins handled the Tua situation. A week ago, he sustained a pretty nasty hit when Matt Milano tackled him, which resulted in Tua stumbling post-tackle. And despite stumbling and clearly showing symptoms of a concussion, 4 days later, Mike McDaniel decided to start Tua on Thursday Night Football. Now look, I don't want to say what Mike McDaniel did was justified. At the same time, he is a rookie head coach, so I will give him a little bit of leeway. I mean, I think the way Tua was handled was horrific, and at least at the very minimum, at the doctor level, it should have been stopped. But at the same time, I don't blame Mike McDaniel for not having the stones to say, yo, clearly there's something wrong with him. Teddy Bridgewater needs to go in instead. And that's because I could see anyone making this mistake. It's still a horrific mistake, and maybe if Mike McDaniel had some more experience on the roster, maybe one of them comes up and says, yo, Tua should not be playing 4 days later. But I could also understand saying, hey, the doctor says he's clear. We've followed each and every single step of concussion protocol. If they say he's clear and they're the experts, then I don't see why I shouldn't play him. Even though in hindsight it looks ridiculous, I can empathize with him in that regard. Now, since all these reports have come out, a very famous neuropathologist, Bennett Omalu, who was the inspiration for Will Smith's concussion movie, tells TMZ Sports that Tua should never play another down in the NFL again after suffering his second concussion in 4 days. He had this to say: if you love your life, if you love your family, if you love your kids, if you have kids, it's time to gallantly walk away. Go find something else to do. Bear in mind, this is the doctor who discovered CTE, and he said everything that he saw on the game's broadcast led him to believe that Tua suffered severe, long-term, permanent brain damage during the play. Now, to be honest, I don't think that's too far-fetched. I mean, bear in mind, Tua got hit so freaking hard that the part of his brain that controls fine motor movement pretty much said, yo, I can't handle this right now. We're going to let the brainstem handle everything, which resulted in him throwing up those gang signs with his hands. So I don't think it's too hard to believe that he did suffer long-term permanent brain damage as a result of that. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm a guy with a half-finished graduate degree in biomedical sciences, so my opinion shouldn't necessarily count on this. He also said, Tua, my brother, I love you. I love you as much as I love my son. Stop playing, stop, hang your helmet, and gallantly walk away. I do think the first part of that sentence is a little cheesy, with all due respect. I mean, do these two individuals even really know each other? I'm unsure, but I do believe in his message here. I mean, this is a very difficult decision that Tua needs to make, and it's his own decision. I mean, how bad was the hit? Does he think he can still play football? Is one more hit the difference between him being just normal and having a regular life, and him essentially being a shell of his former self and maybe a little vegetative moving forward, him being easily angry moving forward, suffering all of the other side effects that CTE entails? Bear in mind that Tua is fairly undersized for his position. So the NFL is in some trouble here, because following this, Tua's fellow NFL draft classmate Joe Burrow admits that he has forgotten entire halves of games as a result of the concussions that he has sustained. Now, he said this on Colin Cowherd's podcast, saying, it's hard to say. You start to ring a little bit. I've never had any lasting effects from a concussion. I've been hit and forgot the rest of the game before. That has happened a couple of times, but I've never had one where I have headaches for a week, or where I have symptoms where I have headaches for like a week. I've had some hits where I don't remember the second half, or I don't remember the entire game, or I know I got a little dizzy at one point, but nothing long lasting. Joe Burrow said that he suspects that everybody has had a concussion that played plays this game. Now, as a result of this, there will be changes to concussion protocol, and one of the major changes that they were looking into was whether or not unstable motor movement should be counted as a means of not allowing a player back into the game. So something good is going to come out of this. But on top of this, the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant involved in clearing Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa during Sunday's game against the Bills has been fired after it was found that he made several mistakes in his evaluation, according to ESPN and multiple reports. Now, Rap Sheet actually said on the Pat McAfee show yesterday that it's something completely different. Now, bear in mind, as we approach this topic, it's good to be a little skeptical. You know, there's going to be some points where the NFL is going to say stuff to try to preserve the shield and try to save face. So keep that in the back of your mind as we continue, because this was the very first report that we got. He made several mistakes in his evaluation, according to ESPN and multiple reports. Now, Rap Sheet said essentially he did not represent the best interests of the players in the view of the NFLPA. But what the main story is if you take a look at what Tom Pelissero says in the tweet that Rap Sheet quoted, the NFLPA cited several factors in terminating the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant involved in Tua Tagovailoa's concussion check last Sunday, including failure to understand his role as UNC and hostility during the investigation process, sources tell me in Rap Sheet. Sideline UNCs are assigned by the NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Committee and approved by the NFL Chief Medical Officer and the NFLPA Medical Director. The responsibility for diagnosis of concussion and return to play remains exclusively within the judgment of the team physician. So what they're saying is the reason, and this is different than what ESPN said, bear in mind, the ESPN article says that he's made several mistakes in his evaluation, which is a horrific look for the NFL, whereas Tom Pelissero and Rap Sheet are claiming that the main issue is the fact that he was hostile during the investigation process. Bear in mind that Tom Pelissero and Rap Sheet literally work for the NFL Network, so it's something to keep in the back of your mind as we continue forward. I love Rap Sheet and Tom, they've never led me astray, but it really depends on which side you really want to believe here. Now, Jonathan Jones mentions that the NFLPA's decision to terminate the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant involving and clearing Tua Tagovailoa came after the union's discovery of several mistakes made by the doctor in its view, per source. Now, Jonathan Jones works for NFL on CBS, so keep that in mind as we move forward, because it seems like we might be getting multiple sides of the story here. Now, regardless, there is some good coming out of this very unfortunate situation with Tua, and that's the fact that the NFLPA and NFL are soon expected to agree to new protocols in which anytime any player demonstrates any instability, he is not allowed to return to the game, and the rule could go into effect as early as week 5, which is remarkable. I'm very happy that at the very minimum, we're seeing progress being made in keeping the game a little bit safer, because the NFL and NFLPA also released this joint statement saying the joint NFL and NFLPA investigation into the application of the concussion protocol involving Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa remains ongoing. Therefore, we have not made any conclusions about medical errors or protocol violations. The NFL and the NFLPA agree that modifications to the concussion protocol are needed to enhance player safety. The NFLPA's Mackey White Health and Safety Committee and the NFL's Head, Neck, and Spine Committee have already begun conversations around the use of the term gross motor instability, and we anticipate changes to the protocol being made in the coming days based on what has been learned thus far in the review process. The NFL and NFLPA share a strong appreciation for the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultants who contribute their time and expertise to our game solely to advance player safety. This program has made our game safer for the athletes who play it for the past 12 seasons. So at the very minimum, obviously something horrific and a huge failure from multiple aspects. I mean, a failure from concussion protocol, a failure from the head coach, Mike McDaniel, for not pulling Tua out, a failure from Tua for not acknowledging, hey, maybe I should not be playing football 4 days later. I do have empathy for Tua. I do have some empathy, a little bit of empathy for Mike McDaniel, but at the same time, I do think the NFL has done what they needed to do in this instance to at least attempt to mitigate this from happening in the future. You're seeing players literally weaponize the fact that there's a lot of concussions that go on in NFL games. I mean, hell, we mentioned this in my most recent Antonio Brown video, saying it's crazy crazy to me that even after I retire, there's disinformation coming out about me. Ironically, during a time when the NFL is getting heat for allowing players to play when they're clearly concussed. They've been using black men as guinea pigs. So for the most part, there's one of two ways to look at this. There's progress being made in the right direction. At the same time, this is a horrific look for the NFL in the sense that they had a specialist that failed Tua in this instance. And I don't know whether or not they're trying to twist it into, hey, we just wanted to conduct an investigation and he didn't want to comply with this investigation, and that's why we had to fire him. Or the fact that he fucked up so badly and it resulted in severe brain damage to Tua to the point where they had to fire him. To me, the second option makes a little bit more sense here, but at the same time, I'm gonna leave that for you guys to interpret. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.